You need to hear this if you're a coffee lover. The train screeched. A woman shrieked. Not a normal shriek. This one dripped with raw terror. Her eyes, wide and wild, darted around the train car. She clutched a paper coffee cup, its contents sloshing onto her trembling hand. "They're here," she cried. "They're everywhere." Passengers exchanged uneasy glances. A man in a business suit cautiously moved his briefcase away from the distraught woman. Was she having a breakdown? Panic attack? The answer, though no one on that train knew it, was far stranger, far more unsettling. She was experiencing coffee-induced hysteria. The incident, while unnerving, was not an isolated one. Across the globe, similar scenes were playing out, each fueled by the same unlikely culprit, coffee. That seemingly innocuous beverage, the elixir of countless morning routines, harbored a dark side, a potential for chaos that few recognized. Coffee-induced hysteria. It sounded like something out of a Gothic novel, a malady confined to the pages of history. Yet it was a very real phenomenon, a testament to the potent and often overlooked power of caffeine. At its core, coffee-induced hysteria was a state of acute anxiety, paranoia, and even hallucinations triggered by excessive caffeine consumption. It was the dark underbelly of our love affair with coffee, a stark reminder that even the most commonplace substances could possess unexpected and sometimes terrifying effects. This wasn't just about a bad case of the jitters, this was about the very chemistry of our brains being hijacked, our senses overwhelmed, our rationality held hostage by a molecule we willingly ingested every single day. The link between coffee and altered mental states was not a new discovery. History was littered with tales that hinted at coffee's potential to incite madness. In the 16th century, coffee houses, those bustling hubs of social and intellectual life, were sometimes viewed with suspicion. Some religious leaders saw coffee as an intoxicant, a threat to piety and reason. There were whispers of coffee houses driving men to insanity, of fueling radical thoughts and behaviors. While these claims were often exaggerated, they spoke to a deep-seated unease about coffee's power. Even in the hallowed halls of academia, coffee's influence was debated. Scholars, fueled by countless cups of the dark brew, found their minds racing, their creativity ignited. But was this intellectual fervor sustainable, or was it a prelude to mental exhaustion, a dangerous dance with madness? Modern science offered a glimpse into the biological mechanisms behind coffee-induced hysteria. Caffeine, the active ingredient in coffee, worked its magic by hijacking the brain's reward system. It blocked a neurotransmitter called adenosine, which normally promoted sleep and relaxation. With adenosine out of the picture, dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, flooded the brain, creating a surge of alertness, focus, and even euphoria. This was the coffee buzz we craved, the reason we reached for that second, third, or even fourth cup. But like any drug, caffeine had its downsides. Consumed too much, and the delicate balance of brain chemistry was disrupted. Anxiety, insomnia, and heart palpitations were just the tip of the iceberg. In extreme cases, caffeine overload could trigger full-blown psychosis, hallucinations, and a complete break from reality. Section 5, Dependence Day. In the modern world, coffee dependence had reached epidemic proportions. We were a society perpetually plugged into the caffeine drip, reliant on its stimulating effects to power through our days. The morning commute was unthinkable without a travel mug in hand. The afternoon slump was banished with a quick trip to the office coffee machine. Even social gatherings revolved around the ritual of coffee consumption. We told ourselves it was harmless, that we had our caffeine intake under control. But deep down, a nagging question lingered. Were we in control, or was coffee controlling us? Had our love affair with the bean morphed into something more sinister? A collective dependence with potentially dire consequences? Section 6, the ritual of the bean. The ritual of coffee had become so ingrained in our lives that we rarely stopped to question its hold on us. The aroma of freshly brewed beans wafting through the air, the comforting warmth of the mug in our hands, the bitter taste that jolted us awake. It was all part of a carefully choreographed dance. We were creatures of habit, slaves to the routine, and coffee was the master puppeteer, It dictated our schedules, fueled our ambitions, and soothed our anxieties. But at what cost? Was this dependence making us more productive or simply more reliant? Were we pushing ourselves to achieve more or merely masking our exhaustion with caffeine-fueled energy? The line between productivity and dependence was blurring, and we were willingly marching towards the edge. Section 7. The price of productivity. The modern workplace had become a breeding ground for coffee addiction. Deadlines loomed, emails piled up, and the pressure to perform was relentless. Coffee, with its promise of enhanced focus and increased energy, became the fuel that kept the corporate machine humming. But this relentless pursuit of productivity came at a price. Sleep-deprived employees, fueled by caffeine and stress, were prone to burnout, anxiety, and a host of other health problems. The very substance that promised to enhance our performance was slowly eroding our well-being. We were caught in a vicious cycle, sacrificing our health for the sake of productivity, all the while clinging to the false promise of caffeine-induced efficiency. Section 8. The global grind. The global coffee industry, a multi-billion-dollar behemoth, thrived on our insatiable thirst for caffeine. From the coffee plantations of South America to the bustling cafes of Seattle, the bean fueled a complex web of trade, labor, and consumption. We were all cogs in this global machine, our lives intertwined with the fate of coffee farmers, baristas, and CEOs. But as we sipped our lattes and cappuccinos, were we truly aware of the human and environmental costs hidden behind each cup? The environmental impact of coffee production was staggering. Deforestation, pesticide use, and the carbon footprint of transporting beans across the globe were just a few of the challenges facing the industry. Our coffee addiction had far-reaching consequences, and it was time to confront the bitter truth behind our beloved beverage. Section 9. The caffeine generation. A new generation had come of age, one that had never known a world without ubiquitous coffee shops and energy drinks. For them, caffeine wasn't just a pick-me-up, it was a way of life. They were the caffeine generation, raised on a steady diet of lattes, cappuccinos, and energy drinks. Their tolerance for caffeine was high, their dependence often unacknowledged. What would be the long-term consequences of this constant caffeine consumption? Would their brains develop differently? Would they experience withdrawal symptoms if they ever tried to quit? The answers were still unknown, but the potential risks were too great to ignore. Section 10. The coffee conundrum. Coffee presented us with a unique conundrum. It was a beverage deeply ingrained in our culture, a source of comfort, social connection, and even artistic expression. Yet it was also a powerful drug capable of altering our brain chemistry and influencing our behavior. How do we reconcile these two sides of coffee? Do we embrace its stimulating effects while acknowledging its potential dangers? Or do we attempt to break free from its hold, risking withdrawal symptoms and social ostracism? The answer, like the perfect cup of coffee, was elusive and personal. It required us to examine our own relationship with caffeine, to weigh the benefits against the risks, and to make informed choices about our consumption habits. Section 11. A final sip. As we took our final sip of coffee, the bitter taste lingered on our tongues, a reminder of the complex and often contradictory nature of our relationship with this ubiquitous beverage. Coffee had the power to stimulate and to soothe, to connect and to isolate, to fuel our ambitions and to mask our exhaustion. It was a double-edged sword, capable of both great benefit and potential harm. The choice ultimately was ours. We could continue to consume coffee with reckless abandon, ignoring the potential consequences of our addiction, or we could approach it with mindfulness and moderation, savoring its pleasures while respecting its power. The future of our relationship with coffee, like the aroma of freshly brewed beans, hung in the air, full of possibility and uncertainty. By the way, thanks for watching Sip and Tell Coffee Tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more content like this.